he has been getting exposed all playoffs at that left tackle spot to
Okay.
the point where I would not be surprised if, whether it's next season or in the near future, he gets moved inside to left guard. Welcome back to Two Generations, One Mic. We had the Super Bowl 2 days ago, so we'll have a lot of fun going over that. A lot going on in college basketball right now as we get closer to March. We got the Winter Olympics, we got some more NBA stuff. Really good episode in store today. Pat, how are you doing?
Hi, bud. Great to see you again. Yeah, no kidding. We've got just a ton going on with like you said, Winter Olympics, Super Bowl, golf. It was a very exciting
Yep.
golf weekend. And we've got a good stretch of 2 more weeks of signature events. So we'll hammer on that too. Yeah, it's going to be a great episode. Looking forward to it. Good to see you.
Before we get started, a quick word from our sponsor.
Looking to transform your space from the floor up? At Thornton Flooring, we've got you covered. From residential and commercial flooring to professional installation and custom bound rugs, our experts help bring your vision to life. And with Roomvo Home Visualizer's cutting edge technology, you can see your new flooring in your actual home or office before you buy. Visit one of our 3 locations serving the Sioux Empire, North Sioux City, and Rapid City, including our brand new showroom off the T exit and I-29 on Baker Landing Avenue. Thornton Flooring, style, service, and confidence underfoot. Call 605-368-1300 today. That's 605-368-1300.
All right, and then before we get into the Super Bowl, Pat has on a Seahawks jersey today. Let's see who we have.
Yeah, it was tough for me to wear a Seahawks jersey, Ben. Back when I was younger, um, back in I forget how many years where it was. The Seahawks and the Broncos. So when I was younger and lived in Colorado for junior high and high school years and the first part of college years, living in Colorado, of course, was a big Bronco fan, and the Seahawks were in the AFC West at that time. With that, it was the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Seahawks, I believe.
Wow.
Anyway, maybe the Chargers were in there too. I can't remember if it was a 4 or a 5 team division. Anyway, so did not like the Seahawks then. Have kind of grown to appreciate them. Have a lot of friends since going to college, and now older. Have a lot of friends from Seattle. So actually watched the Super Bowl with a bunch of guys from Seattle, a bunch of people from Seattle. So that was fun to help them, cheer them on without the Vikings being in there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, throwback to Hall of Famer Cortez Kennedy. So Cortez Kennedy was born in 1968. He's a Hall of Fame player that played his entire career for Seattle. Born in 68 in Arkansas, unfortunately passed away in 2017 at 48 years old. He went to a junior college for his first couple years in the mid 80s, 86, 87, and then attended the University of Miami 87 to 89 and won 2 national championships when they were there. They played in his first one, they played Oklahoma in 87, and then 89 they played Alabama and won both of those. So that was kind of fun.
Wow.
The one with Oklahoma, I believe, was with Jimmy Johnson. That was the national championship that Jimmy Johnson won, and then Dennis Erickson is who took over as coach there and won another national championship. Then he was in the 1990 draft. He was taken in the first round, 3rd overall by Seattle, and played his entire career for Seattle. Defensive tackle from 1990 to 2000 was when he played, and had a great career with them. Just some stats about him. He was in the 1990s All-Decade team, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time second team All-Pro, 3-time first team All-Pro. was one time the NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and in 2006 was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. So, repping Cortez Kennedy in honor of the Seattle Seahawks winning the Super Bowl and all of our friends from Seattle. So there you go, bud.
Love it. No, those old Seahawks jerseys with the royal blue, I love them way more than the current ones.
Well, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of like it's got the Seahawk on the sleeve, kind of like how the old Vikings jersey had the old Viking on the old jersey had the Viking on the sleeve as well. Just a little more detail than some of the jerseys have today. Like we were talking the
Yeah.
other day when I was wearing the John Randall jersey. You have like Indianapolis Colts or the Raiders.
Yeah.
Those jerseys are pretty nondescript. They're
Hmm.
equally cool, but if you didn't know anything about them, you just look at it and it looks like the Colts, a royal blue jersey with a white line and white numbers. There's still some very descriptive jerseys out there. You look at like the 49ers jersey sometimes has a very elaborate number
Yeah.
system on there with shadow and highlights and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, these old jerseys are great. The Cortez Kennedy, the Steve Largent. There was a Jim Zorn jersey on there that I thought about getting, but to be honest with you, Ben, I wanted the Brian Bosworth jersey, but they didn't have my size.
Oh,
Bosworth
really?
would have been awesome. Oh, yes.
That's
That's the
cool.
one I really, really wanted. Yeah.
And then, all right, getting into the game here. So this was a very one-sided Super Bowl. I would say this is probably the worst Super Bowl since the last time the Seahawks won it and absolutely blew out the Broncos. This was, it wasn't over in the first half, but the Patriots could not get anything going. The Seattle defense had their number all game. It it was a
They were
beating.
they were so dialed in. That defense was so dialed in, and um, Drake May just it didn't seem to me was just was overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Some other stuff, Ben, and I'm curious what you've seen on this. I mean, everyone is just banging on this Will Campbell, the left tackle for the Patriots,
Yeah.
rookie out of LSU, touted as up and coming, rookie coming out of college, and I didn't see a great deal of Patriots games this season. I know that there's a lot of chatter about the ease of their schedule, but they
Hmm.
still had to win. They still had to win, what, three playoff games,
Yep.
which they did. Now, granted, their last game against the Broncos was against the Broncos backup. It would have been interesting what would have happened with the Broncos having Bo Nix in there. But that being said, I that Will Campbell is just getting raked over the coals in online stuff.
Well, so his issue is so coming out of college, he was an awesome left tackle at LSU.
Okay.
Anchored that offensive line during the not they weren't great, but like those fun offenses with like Garrett Nussmeier and then Jaden Daniels before that. He was a multi-year starter there. And coming into the combine, when he did his measurements, his arm length came in super short for a tackle, where it
Okay.
concerned some people, but the Patriots still thought he's a great left tackle. During the regular season, like you said, they did have a historically easy schedule. He held his own out there. But I mean, once he got to the playoffs, they've played, let's see, the Chargers, the Texans, the Broncos, and now the Seahawks. Those are probably four, you could make the argument, four of the top 10 defenses in the league. He has been getting exposed all playoffs at that left tackle spot to
Okay.
the point where I would not be surprised if, whether it's next season or in the near future, he gets moved inside to left guard. It,
Okay.
those defenders are just getting around him way too easy. So yes, but I have seen the same thing. He has been getting ripped apart online here.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty brutal. And I don't, I mean, they are just going after the poor kid. I don't know if the guy is a jerk and just, came out like, you know how sometimes when someone comes out and is super cocky and then gets just blown out of the water, and then so people just pile on. I don't know if he's a nice guy. I don't know anything about him.
From what I've
So, but
seen in interviews, I love him. I think he's awesome.
it's too bad. And they show, the
Yeah.
camera followed him as the celebration was going on, and he was very. Of course, when you're coming off of a game, it's just like, I mean, I guess I equate it to having a very poor golf game.
Hmm.
When you went into it expecting to play better and you just don't play well at all, and you're walking from the 18th green on, and you're just like, oh, that's just brutal, head down. And they followed him as he was walking off the field, and just a couple guys went up to him trying to console him, but it wasn't just him. there
No.
was a there was a play, and forgive me, I'm not going to know the names, but the Seattle defender, and it had to be a guard, because if I recall, it was more inside, and
Hmm.
he didn't spin, he didn't anything, he just bull rushed the offensive guard right into Drake May and sacked him as he was just basically reaching over the guard. And I mean, it was awesome. It was just a bull rush right through, and sacked May. I mean, they just flat out overpowered him. It was unbelievable. It like you said, unfortunately, it kind of made for a boring game.
Yep.
I was very happy for all of my Seattle friends, and good for them. And when you're that kind of, when you're like, if the Vikings, if and when they ever make it to the Super Bowl again, I hope it's a blowout win, because then you can just kind of watch and relax.
Yeah.
And
Versus a
so,
last second thing.
yeah, and they were all thrilled, and that's great. And so, good for them. Um, but like you said, for those that are just watching for an entertaining game,
Hmm.
uh, nothing.
In I don't, even though we've kind of been ripping on Drake May and Will Campbell here, I don't think you can put it on one person. I This is just, I think, a young team, because you have, like we said, a rookie left tackle, second year quarterback who's only 23 years old, and first playoff appearance here is getting to the Super Bowl. I think they're just ahead of schedule. And
Well,
hopefully they can get back in the future here, but you also never know.
no, and I think you just hit the nail on the head to emphasize exactly what you're talking about. If you go back and watch playoffs past, when you see, it is very, very rare. Not gonna say that it hasn't happened, but it's very rare when you have a young team, and overall they're a very young team.
Hmm.
It's very rare that you have a young team that's able to go into the playoffs and keep their composure and look like they're totally under control and not overwhelmed by the situation. Now, like you said, they had, you know, a number of games before where they performed very well,
Yep.
because that playoff level of everything is so much higher. And I'm speaking just from a fan. In the one or two times that I've been to Vikings playoff games,
Hmm.
it's yeah, I remember the first time, and it was beyond my expectation of what the level of intensity was. You go to a regular season game, and there's all the hype. Again, Vikings game or whatever, they blow the horn, a lot of stuff going on before skull, all that stuff. Loud music and all that. They kick off, and then you sit down. you
Yeah.
know, and then play back and forth. I mean, you're cheering and all of that stuff. You sit down. I remember the playoff game that I went to, and we never sat down. It felt very college atmosphere, craziness, start to finish.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of there exhausted as a fan. And I think that level, kick that up to the Super Bowl. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what being there for a whole week. So your routine is completely changed as a player. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody always talks about how you try to keep the same routine for these professional players, regardless of sport. The key is to try to maintain their routine. Then you get to the biggest game of your career, and your routine is totally different.
Yeah.
You're there for a whole week. You have tons of you're being pulled in lots of different directions, family tickets, all that business. Lots of media requests and appearances and all of that stuff. You're trying to do film and practices and stuff in new places that that you're not used to, and then the game itself is totally different. All of the pageantry around the beginning, the halftime is twice as long as a normal halftime. Um, I think that I mean, unless you have a veteran that is really able to be in there and has been through that exact all the way to the end, which I frankly I don't know if the Patriots have or not, but you need kind of that guy that is
Mhm.
able to say this is what it's going to be like. Now that they've been there, watch out. I mean, I think over the next 5 years they're going to be a fun team to watch.
It's also funny though, because I feel like the last time we've seen this, like a second year quarterback kind of go on a surprise run, lead his team to the Super Bowl was Joe Burrow with the Bengals. And we were saying the exact same thing. Yeah, they lost this one, but this team is looking really good here for the future. Watch out. And it hasn't happened yet. So, and you obviously can't predict the future here. It could be totally different for the Patriots, but it you just hope this wasn't their one chance.
Right.
If you're a Patriots fan, yeah.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
But I do agree. The future of this team looks good. Their defense played great. This Seattle offense
Oh
is
boy.
awesome, and they held them to 3 field goals in the first half, 9-0. That's a touchdown and a field goal away from taking the lead.
Absolutely. How about
Super doable.
number zero? Is it Gonzalez or?
Yes, Christian Gonzalez.
Oh
The
man.
plays he made, oh my gosh. He
Yeah. He
saved two
single-handedly
touchdowns
kept
by
them in it.
himself. Yep.
Totally. Totally. You're spot on. You're spot on. Crazy.
He
And
had
then
Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to
No, I
say
was going to shift gears. Yeah, you go.
especially that one, it was towards either the end of the first or beginning of the second where Darnold had that deep ball to Rashid Shaheed, which would have
Yep.
been a 60-yard touchdown. The way he just extended out there and got one hand on it,
One hand.
I was shocked. That was awesome.
Yeah, he was everywhere. Everywhere. No, it was really cool. I was going to shift gears
Mhm.
just a little bit and talk about a couple of bad beats
Oh, yeah.
from a betting standpoint. I mean, so, you're watching that game, and at the beginning of the game, the over-under was 45 and a half. Is that not correct?
Right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, 45 and a half. And as the game's winding down, they're sitting at, which the first half, you're like, oh my God, there's no way this thing's going to be over. No
Hmm.
way. And they come out and start scoring. Seattle scores a number of touchdowns. New England throws a touchdown in there. And you're sitting at 42. And Seattle is basically just trying to run. All they have to do is run the clock out. And
Yeah.
Wagner busts through with a
Kenneth Walker.
60-yard
Yeah.
run, or Walker, and scores a touchdown. And you're like, oh my God, over. And they call holding.
Yep. It was so brutal.
Oh God. And then, one of the prop bets was the over under on Sam Darnold rushing yards was 5.5, and he was sitting at 11. And again, in one of those last series, he took the snap and ran back 6 yards to finish at, so -6 puts you at 5. I mean, you had to be sitting there thinking, I'm golden. I mean, even
Yeah.
if he just steps back and takes a couple knees, you're sitting at 11, -2, -2,
Hmm.
you're good. He runs back 6 and goes down. Oh, That just had to be awful.
Brutal.
I wasn't on either of those, but oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, that stinks. And then so taking a look at next year's Super Bowl, they
Yeah.
announced like a lot of the sports book have started doing futures and stuff. So it has the Rams and Seahawks tied at first at plus 950. And then after that, it goes Bills, Eagles, and then Ravens and Patriots tied. So who, if you had to pick an NFC team and an AFC team to be in the Super Bowl next year, who are you going with?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you can go against, the Rams and Seattle. Of course, injuries will play a big part. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the experts that put those numbers out take into account how many free agents they have on the existing team and run some sort of calculation or prediction on what could happen regarding free agents moving in or out of the team. But
Yep.
I mean, how can you go against the Rams and Seattle and the Niners? I mean, that NFC West, oh boy, are they stacked up?
So good.
And
Yeah.
then it's so good. I mean, I know the Niners aren't up there in the teams that you gave, but I mean, they're going to still be strong.
Especially if they can actually have a healthy season. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Uh, and the Ravens and the Patriots, out of the AFC, I don't think, and Bills, of course. I mean, the Bills have some serious stuff that they need to fix, and they're bringing in a new coach, as are the Ravens. So, I mean, I would think the Patriots, assuming all things stay, relatively at ease in terms of incoming and outgoing people. I mean, one thing I would be looking for if I were the GM of the Patriots would be looking for that veteran player that has been in a Super Bowl. And it would be actually really kind of fun to find a guy that is relatively cheap because he's on the downward side of his career, so you could pick him up pretty inexpensively. But he's a very respected voice. I'm not sure who that might be that's out there. I haven't looked, but someone that could come in there and have the respect of the locker room, may not play a ton, but has huge respect for how his career has been, and be able to help them through that mental part of what to expect and how you need to prep for all that.
Flacco would be interesting
Yeah, that's a good one.
because he's
That's a good
obviously
one.
not
Someone
going to
like
take
that.
Drake May's spot, but has all the experience in the world, won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
And someone might say to you and me as we're having this conversation, well, it was Darnold's first time, in the playoffs like that. But my point is, Darnold is from the 2018 draft, which, by
Yep.
the way, first quarterback out of that draft that included Jared Allen, Baker
Josh.
Mayfield, and or Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson
Yeah.
to not only make the Super Bowl but win the Super Bowl, uh, which I think is super interesting. But when you're a veteran like that, and he had been to the Super Bowl with the Niners, and so when he was a backup for the Niners, so over that many of years of experience, you pick stuff up. I mean, when you're in your early 23 or whatever Drake May is, and that sort of thing, you're still pretty young.
Yeah.
So, also, we didn't talk about, Walker won the MVP. But I think just as easily, and it would have been kind of cool if they could have figured out how to do this, to give the MVP to a whole unit.
Defense and special teams. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been kind of cool to give it to, if they got up and said, well, the MVP this year is the Seattle defense as a whole,
Yeah.
or the punter for Seattle was outstanding. Yeah.
No, he was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So who are your two picks?
okay, I'm going to go Rams and Ravens.
Rams and Ravens. Okay.
Yep.
Um, Out of the AFC, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think if they get those tackles healthy and can have a relatively healthy season, I think Harbaugh's awesome there. They hired Mike McDaniel at OC. He could unlock that offense. I really like them going into next year. NFC, gosh, it's hard not to pick the Rams.
I know, and the
Yeah,
Rams would be at their home stadium too. So would the Chargers.
that would be kind of cool. I'll go Rams Chargers with that. Both the
Oh,
LA teams.
how fun is that? Good job.
Yeah,
You know,
that
one
would
thing
be
I
fun.
did forget. I'm gonna throw a red challenge flag on myself,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna actually call a review, and I'm gonna change from Ravens actually to Broncos.
Broncos. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
So
yeah. Fun outlook for next year.
yeah,
Uh
totally.
College basketball here. So
Oh
a
boy.
big last
Oh
couple days
boy.
in college basketball. North Carolina hits the game winner over Duke. Hadn't led all game. Was down 10 most of the game after a rough start. And then 5 minutes left. They go on a nice little run, couple threes, couple stops. Um, Stops Duke on their last possession. Kick out three to put them up three with zero point 0.4 seconds left. And I'll say I got invited to this watch party from a big group of North Carolina fans that rented out a bar here in
Yeah.
New York. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it was so much fun. Just like 70 North Carolina fans. It was so cool. Just
I'm
everyone
so
tackling
jealous.
everybody. Yeah, it was so much fun.
It's like what you and I talk about, where when we were talking about what game would you go back to, and I said, as fun as a big, huge game that's at a neutral site, a Super Bowl, a national championship, whatever. Uh, when you're at a home game and the home team pulls out a suspenseful, awesome win, and again, I know that you weren't at the stadium, but you're at a home, a bar that is just those fans, and then it ends like that.
Hmm.
Unbelievable.
And this is so good for the UNC Duke rivalry because I was listening to the Barstool's basketball show the other day, and they were talking about how ever since Coach K retired in 22, and it was that awesome North Carolina Duke battle in the Final Four. It The North Carolina Duke rivalry has been relatively quiet since then. Duke's
Right.
been a little more dominant. North Carolina has had a couple of down seasons. So this was a great way to kind of get that, even though it's always going to be the biggest rivalry in college basketball. It's good
Yep.
to kind of like fire that up again, have something like this happen, upset game winner. Yeah. So I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you and I have always been North Carolina people
Mm-hmm.
between the two. And
Yep.
and I say that not hating Duke. I don't hate Duke. I respect the heck out of Duke. I mean, to be able to put together the basketball legacy that they have and always replenish, and especially the way college basketball has changed over the decades, of what we've talked about in the past, four-year players down to the one and done type situation, now bringing in NIL, and they're still able to maintain their high level of performance. I have a great respect for Duke, but
Yep.
I've always been a North Carolina guy. You've always been a North Carolina guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, and so then just it makes it that much more thrilling you know for us when there's a huge win like that. I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, and then the other major upset on Saturday. I mean, both good teams, but Michigan State upset Illinois. I watched the end of that one. That was like a fun overtime game. That jumped Michigan State up to 10. and dropped Illinois down to 8. And then the game that was the real heartbreaker for me last night, Arizona loses a close one against Kansas. So before the game, I got really
In Lawrence.
excited because in Lawrence, which Allen Fieldhouse is just insane. Those
Sick.
fans show
Sick.
out, and that's I've never been to Allen Fieldhouse, but that kind of seems like one of those tighter stadiums, like a little bigger than Cameron, kind of like McHale, where smaller, tight, but you still get a good amount of fans in there, and
Yep.
they get loud for that team.
Yep.
But I got excited before the game because 10 minutes before it gets announced that Kansas's Kansas's best player, Darren Peterson Jr., is out. Not Jr. Darren Peterson is out with flu-like symptoms. So I was texting all my Arizona people, super excited. And then the game starts, and it is close. You have these other Kansas guys playing well. And someone made a great point where Darren Peterson has been a very weird player this year, where when he plays, he is one the best freshman in college basketball, probably the number one overall pick. But he's been sitting out almost every other game due to a hamstring pull or sickness. So it's a lot of people are saying he's protecting his draft stock. And since he's been doing this, Kansas has been playing better without him. So it kind of came down to that yesterday. Kansas just outplayed us. I can't blame it on the refs or anything. Kansas obviously had the home court advantage. That was huge for them because that crowd
Yeah.
was going against the number one team in the country. But at the same time, Arizona's starting a tough stretch here. I'm kind of happy we got this undefeated team thing out of the way. Would it have been
I
so
agree.
cool to have an undefeated season? Yes. But we've seen that hurt so many teams in the past. I always talk about that Kentucky team. It's just good for a team to have a loss under their belt, lose in a close game like that, be able to come back from a loss. So it happened. It is what it is. Hopefully, Arizona's able to rebound here.
Well, I don't have the schedule in front of me over the next month, but uh, we were looking at it yesterday, and it was so prior to last night's game, their next 8 games, 6 of them are against ranked opponents. With a number of those, I believe it was 7 of 9 or 6 of 8 of their next games are against
Five of
ranked
seven,
opponents. Five of
counting
seven.
last night. Yeah.
Yeah. And a number of them away, which last night was. And
Hmm.
I agree with you. I think that, and we had this discussion a number of episodes ago. I am a big proponent of losing a game. Now, you don't go in, obviously, with the intention of losing. But I think Tommy Lloyd can really turn this into a positive. You can make this a very easy positive as a coach.
Yeah. So their schedule here, they play against Texas Tech, against BYU, at Houston, at Baylor, against Kansas, against Iowa State, and then finish out
Yeah,
the month against
Colorado.
Colorado.
Yep.
It's a tough end to the schedule, and Arizona this year just had a really hard schedule. I mean, it's not like the first half was easy for them. Within their first 6 games, they had to play against Florida, UCLA, and UConn. It,
Yep.
so
Yep.
if they can get out of this stretch, counting last night with only 2 losses, I think that would be huge for them.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Those were the big college basketball stories. Winter Olympics update. So the USA currently has 5 total medals. They are in 6th place in the total medal count. Breezy Johnson won gold in downhill skiing. That was after Lindsey Vonn broke her same leg that she already had the torn ACL on and had to get
Yeah,
airlifted out of there.
brutal.
That was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is she came out last night and gave a little more detail on it. It was a complex break of the tibia.
Yeah.
So it's going to be multiple surgeries apparently.
That.
No, thank you.
Yeah, but she said
No,
she has
thank
no
you.
regrets competing. So,
Yeah, no,
I
great.
mean,
And
good for
good,
her. Yeah.
absolutely. And she earned the spot and that is tough. Well, and then the US mixed doubles curling team is going for gold here this morning in about an hour and 15 minutes from when we're filming right now. So that's kind of fun. Hopefully they
Yeah.
pull that off. They had a
Mm-hmm.
major win against Italy in the semifinals yesterday. And yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I love the Olympics. I love being able to turn it on. It's on multiple channels. We talked about that last week. It's fun
Yeah.
just to turn it on and see what's going on. You get all these random, it's heavy figure skating on the main channel of NBC, and that sort of stuff with a lot of feel good stories and things like that. But you get down into some of the other channels, USA, MSNBC, the or the red zone of the Olympics. I forget what they're calling it.
Gold
Gold
zone.
zone. It's kind of fun. You get to see all kinds of random stuff. It's great. So yeah, I love the Olympics as we've talked about. I love summer and winter. I love them both.
Yeah. It's just a fun thing to be able to watch during the day, have on in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And no, I think it's super. It's what Italy has got to be however many hours ahead from
Mm-hmm.
Central Time Zone. I think they're 7 or 8 hours ahead. So, heck, if you can't sleep, you turn it on. What the heck?
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then,
and just to double back on college basketball real quick.
yeah.
Here we go, entering the really really fun part of the season as we're ramping up to March Madness. That's going to be awesome. It is, football's finished now for a while. Of course, we're going to get all the hot stove stuff both for college and because the colleges are going to play in a month or two, play their spring game, and then you'll learn
Yep.
a little bit more about where the colleges sit. All the new players will be at their schools most likely, and then college basketball, heading into March Madness for both the conference tournaments and then the big tournament, both NCAA national championship tournament as well as the NIT. A lot of fun stuff with college basketball, so that's awesome.
Yeah. I love when the conference tournaments roll around and you have a team that goes on a run that probably wasn't going to make March Madness, but they win their conference tournament and lock one of the seeds up. Kind of like that North Carolina State team from a couple years ago that made it to the Final Four when we went.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So fun.
super cool. And yeah, it's fun in those conference tournaments, especially the lower conferences, that are the first ones to play in the
Yep.
2 weeks of conference tournament time, like Summit League that is played in Sioux Falls and that sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing, where you'll have, I mean, typically there's only one team that's going to make it out of that. Or you have the situation like when I was at Santa Clara in the early 90s, where you have a team that has played so well throughout the season that they actually would get an at-large berth, and of course you're expecting them to win the conference tournament as well. Don't, and you have a small team win the conference tournament, and then that's what they call a bubble breaker, because
Yeah.
then you have two teams coming out of a very small conference instead of one. That happened with, at the time, Gonzaga hadn't become what Gonzaga is now. At my
Mm-hmm.
time, it was Pepperdine. So my sophomore year was the Steve Nash year when they beat Arizona in the first round. Thank you very much. But so Santa Clara actually ends up winning the West Coast Conference tournament. Pepperdine had played well enough the whole season that they also got an at-large bid, and that's two coming out of the WCC, knocking someone out that is in a bigger conference but not winning their tournament that would have still been in.
Yeah, that is always fun.
Right.
Um, And then a couple NBA storylines here. So I know we had our last episode that was filmed 3 or 4 hours before the trade deadline ended. So
Yeah, on
two
Friday.
last, yeah, major moves from that. Um, Zubac was traded to the Pacers from the Clippers, which it was a big haul. Two first round picks. One of them had a weird protection on it. So if it had a 1 to 4 protection on it and then a 10 to 30. So basically it has to be the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, or ninth pick in order for the Clippers to get it. And if it doesn't become that, it becomes a 2031 unprotected first. So shows the Pacers really like the top four of this draft class here. Um, but love the move for the Pacers. Centers their weakness. Going into next year, if they can get Halliburton back at 100% and land one of these top four picks, they could very well be the favorites to win the East. In an East that's having a little bit of a down year, besides the Celtics being exciting. And
Yeah.
then a move that was really crazy was Cam Thomas from the Nets has been on the trade block for a while now. Good young scorer, averages 21 a game over the past 3 seasons, but he just doesn't do anything else. Little effort on defense. Shot selection is questionable at times, not a lot of playmaking. And the Nets flat out waived him, could not find a trade partner for him. So he ends up signing with the Bucks, which an interesting move because the team around Giannis there in Milwaukee is not great. So I'm curious to see what kind of role Doc gives him and what he can do there because it could pan out well, or if Cam Thomas can't learn to play defense and pass the ball and fix his shot selection, could flame out there too. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, and we our prediction was correct as we were wrapping up on our emergency draft report on that Friday. Giannis ultimately did not get traded,
yep,
and the Bucks came out and said, we're going to try to start a rebuild around him and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting where that goes with Cam.
yeah. And it'll be interesting this summer what Giannis officially wants to do because Giannis is doing this weird thing where it kind of seems like he wants to get out, but he doesn't want to like pull a Harden and disrupt everything and really put his foot down and request a trade, which if you want to get out of somewhere, that's just kind of what you have to do. But he wants
Right,
to stay
right.
in the good graces of Milwaukee because that's been his home now for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting if he digs his feet in a little more this summer or what he does. And then the last NBA thing I want to cover. So Damian Lillard has been out all season, won't play this season, recovering from that torn Achilles. But he is participating in the 3-point contest next weekend, which it makes sense. I mean, he's probably been shooting a ton here. It would be
Yeah.
really funny if he won the whole thing.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I love the 3-point contest. I think it's fantastic. All the way back to when that great 3-point contest when Bird came out in his warm-up jersey. And, the story goes in the locker room when the participants were all sitting around and Bird's looking around and he goes, I'm just trying to figure out who's going to finish second. And he was down heading into the last rack, and he was actually down till he got the last ball, shot the money ball, finger up before it goes in, and is walking. I mean, if you go back and look,
Yeah.
he shoots it, finger up, and starts walking towards the bench, and the ball didn't even hit the rim, just went straight through. Gives one of these, just gives up, boom, and I mean that was it. It's just, oh god, it's so good. It's
That is
so good.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And then we also had the Waste Management this past weekend out in Phoenix. Um, I'll let you kick it off here with this. Hear
Well,
your
it was a good
thoughts.
week down there. It's the Waste Management. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
as a college student. So it fits right into your wheelhouse from an age range perspective. Waste Management is by far known for the environment, the most fans of any tournament every year by thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
They over the whole week they have over 200,000 fans. They have the famous 16th hole Coliseum, where during the week they have concerts and all that stuff. I've had the opportunity to be in there for one day. It's incredible. Interestingly enough, Scotty Cameron comes out and shoots a 2-over on the day one Thursday, which I forget how many rounds it's been for him since he's been over par. And there was a big question if he was going to make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Comes out on Friday and shoots a 65, makes the cut. He's in third by Sunday afternoon. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable, making a fun charge on Sunday.
Yeah.
He is very much watching what he does, where everyone is always looking at the board on where he is throughout a tournament, is very, very Tiger-esque back in the early 2000s, where no matter where he stood heading into the weekend, if he was on the cut line, just inside the cut line, you just had a feeling all the time that he's going to figure out a way to be up around the leaderboard. And he just needed one or two more birdies on Sunday, and he had the opportunity to make them too. The couple putts just didn't fall.
Yeah.
And he was up there. So anyway, now take Hideki Matsuyama, coming into the final round on Sunday, leading, and his driver completely abandons him. He hit 2 fairways the whole day, and one of those 2 that they measured was in the fairway by that much. A couple times he was in the desert. The guy was a magician in what he had to do to scramble and put together a great round. Ended up throwing a couple birdies in there. No bogeys till he gets to the 18th hole. Unfortunately, there was some sound, like when he was putting on the 16th, there was some sound. People yelled, and he had to back off a putt here and there. Tees off on 18, puts it in the church pew bunkers on the left, ended up making bogey, and unfortunately went into the playoff. Well, I mean, unless you're unfortunately for him, made bogey. Chris Gotterup, on the other hand, shot a 64 in the final round and had put himself in position if Hideki faltered down the Ray. And it was kind of interesting. He was out there hitting balls. He was just hitting balls, keeping warm. Hideki had a 1-stroke lead through 16, 17. And Hideki tees off on 17. So coming out of the Coliseum, the par 3, you roll into number 17, which is a reachable par 4. Some guys lay up. Some guys go for it. Pin was in the very back part of the green that gets really narrow, and there's water on the left, and everything slopes. He didn't hit driver. He hit, I'm going to say a 3-wood. I'm not sure what it was, 3 or 5. And he kind of tugs it a little bit, and it lands and starts rolling. Stops a few feet short of the water, pars that hole, and then, like I said, made bogey on 18. They roll back to play 18. He rinses it on his drive in the pond and ends up, he never even got a putt. Gotterup rolled in a gigantic putt for Bird that won it in the playoff. So a couple years ago, the Waste Management was a disaster from a weather standpoint. They had a bunch of rain, bunch of delays, and people just got absolutely hammered. And there was a lot of disruption with people that had been overserved. It looked like they've been trying to get that a little bit under control, yet try to maintain the essence of the tournament being the People's Open is what they call it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they roll into the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this weekend. That's always kind of a fun tournament. You know, they have a lot of celebrities that play throughout the week with the pros. That's cool. Then the next week is at Riviera, where they play the Genesis Open. That's Tiger's tournament. Both of those are signature events. So good, fun couple weeks coming up. And then you get the Players. The Players is in March, when they head over and do the Florida Swing. Heading then following that up into April for the first major with the Masters.
So excited for it.
Oh man, tell
One
me
of the
about it.
best events in sports.
Yeah, we might have to do our show every day of that week. I'm just kidding.
That'd
That'd be
be
so good.
funny.
Yeah, if we could do it live from the driving range, oh my gosh. Anyway,
Maybe someday.
yep.
So two little kind of miscellaneous things I wanted to hit here. So North Dakota State only football is joining the Mountain West in 2026. And they've been a powerhouse of a football program. They have won 10 of the last 15 FCS championships. I'm very curious to see how good they are on the FBS level.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because, yeah, Mountain West is a smaller conference, but certainly no joke.
Yeah. I am very interested to see if they keep how they handle the football schedule. Like, will they still play South Dakota State?
Yeah.
Because that's a great rivalry with the mile marker. It's a big, the trophy, that goes back and forth in those rivalry games is a big mile marker thing. And that's become a really great battle over the last 5 years with South Dakota State starting to ratchet it up to their level. So I hope, for their sake, I hope they're able to maintain that high level and perform well with, like you said, the bigger schools that are in the Mountain West.
Yeah. And then the second thing was so this past week, a lot of football people getting interviewed at all of this podcast stuff that goes on around the Super Bowl. And Kirk Herbstreit was on there, and he suggested, in order to fix college football, a Power Four breakaway where the Power Four conferences kind of basically create another level. So you'd have like Power Four, Group of Five, then FCS. And there would be players having a CBA, basically creates almost like a professional league, like the same thing the professionals do. Hire a commissioner,
Yep.
all that. What are your thoughts on that?
I just it just blows me away that's what we're talking about here. And so if it helps to stabilize what's going on from player movement and coach movement and everything like that, if it helps stabilize it so they put better restrictions on timing. I'm not trying to restrict anybody from going anywhere, but I just think in my opinion, the timing is messed up right now, as we've talked about in the past. For players and coaches, I'm going to say not being able to, but having to make decisions to leave schools prior to the end of the playoffs is ridiculous. I think that it's bad to have the portal open before the end of the playoffs, where players are forced to make a decision to enter the portal before, if their team is still alive in the playoffs. I just don't even. It just does not make any sense for coaches to have to make a decision to leave a school before the end of the year is crazy. It disrupts everything. It's unfair to the kids at the existing school. So if it stabilizes that, great. I'm sad that that's what we're talking about. I always loved I have no problem with kids being paid. I think that they should be. But we are completely professionalizing. I just always loved the thought of, college football. They were not professionals by title.
Yep.
And yes, there might have been some stuff going on in the background. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, Ben. I really don't. I mean, I think that, as Kurt said, that is absolutely what to have the players have a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement, which means they're in, that they're in a union, and then they have union representation, just like the NFLPA. The commissioner, of the league to help stabilize all this stuff and lay out some rules and all of that. I don't know. I just, it's wild that we're talking about that.
Yeah, but I think it needs to be done. I mean,
I
we're at a
agree.
point
I
now
agree.
with
I do too.
NIL, it's like you said, players should be paid, but it's just chaotic right now, and the toothpaste is kind of out of the tube. You can't put it back in, so you just need a way to stabilize it. I just hope they get some kind of commissioner, and my number one pick would be Saban. I think he could get a rein on this stuff. He knows college football. He's very smart. I think he would be the perfect guy for the job. And everyone has the most respect in the world for him. I think that would
Yeah,
be a
I agree.
huge move for college football just to get this under control a little bit.
I concur. I do. And I think that having, run an organization, when you make a decision, and the way that we would analyze the positives and negatives and try to play out scenarios when making a decision that affected all employees. I don't understand, going back, how long has NIL stuff been around? Three years
Right
or
about
so.
that. Yep.
When all of the court rulings came down, in the suits that were filed against the NCAA that were, I believe it were the two brothers, the O'Bannon brothers from UCLA basketball back in the 90s that ended up filing this stuff. And when it came to fruition 3 years ago, how they just opened the floodgates and did not lay out any parameters for how it was to be done. The portal, the NIL stuff, and all of that. So that, what we would always do is, start out. You can always add. You
Yep.
can always add, but it's very hard to take away once you put stuff out there. And so why they just came out and just went, boom, here's everything, and go. And then, all of a sudden you learn you have all these issues. Number of kids, like we've said in the past, 10,000 kids entering the portal. The dollars that we're talking about, no salary cap. So you've totally changed what, a South Dakota State can do compared to an Alabama. And I know that's the extreme, but it is the extreme. Making, you basically have made these smaller schools become feeder schools to the bigger schools. And maybe that's what we want. Maybe that's good. I don't know. It just literally to change it overnight from one extreme to the other without a step process. I don't agree with that.
I've seen just so many ideas being kicked around, whether it's Herb Street or other people. And I've heard a lot of good ideas being kicked around. Now they just need to actually do something about it. Like,
Right.
I've heard, I'm not a soccer guy, but when a soccer player in the Premier League moves teams, the team that's getting them pays the other team. I think they call it a transfer fee to get the player. If we're going to do a feeder system, I think that would be awesome if some South Dakota State guy goes to Alabama. Alabama pays South Dakota State a fee because there's a big difference in money there. And it would help like a South Dakota State be able to use that money down the line to get some more players and then probably eventually send them to a bigger school, keep getting transfer fees. So there's just tons of ideas out there that I think would work and could help, but just something needs to be done.
I agree. And I like that idea too. I look back at, excuse me. So back during, the 80s and 90s and taking college football and basketball, and I'm sure it happened across all other sports too, but they always said, the player should choose, because this was back when it was very, very hard for a player to leave the school that he or she chose
Yeah.
to go play at. So they would always say, make sure you're choosing the school, not the coach, because the coaches were still able to move. It wasn't quite like it is today in terms of the volume, but you did see coaches move on to different opportunities. And so they would always make sure to tell the kids, make sure you're choosing the school, not the coach. But in essence, it's the coaches recruiting the kids, and so you knew they were choosing where they were going to be able to play for said coach.
Mm-hmm.
And if the coach moved on, they were really kind of stuck where they were. So I understand allowing the kids to leave when when a coach leaves the school, but and I hate bringing a problem and not bringing a solution. But
Yep.
when you have a Signetti leaves a James Madison and go to Indiana, or you have a Deion Sanders leave, where was he? Central Florida before he went to Boulder?
Jackson State.
Jackson State, excuse me. And the whole team enters the portal and follows him. And then James Madison is sitting there when it's a smaller school like that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's one thing when you have a bigger school to bigger school, because that school is then going to replace that coach with another coach that kids are going to follow him. Ultimately, it's going to trickle down to these smaller schools. James Madison, South Dakota State. When South Dakota State lost their coach a couple years ago and went to Washington State, a lot of the Washington or South Dakota State kids followed. That school ultimately is left with a, what do we do now? Because you just lost a ton of kids.
Yeah.
And trying to just even field a team
It's hard.
that I have a problem with.
Mm-hmm. No, I
So-
completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Something
what the
needs to get in
solution
order.
is, Ben. I don't know. And like you said, though, there's some good solutions, good ideas out there for fixing it.
Yeah. All right. And then our last segment here. So I thought a fun one for us to do would be, since we just had the Super Bowl halftime show, favorite concert you've been to?
Oh, man. Why don't you go first this time?
Okay. While you think about it. So,
Well, I've thought about it, but
okay.
yeah.
All right. So just to kick around some of my other ideas and honorable mentions here, I haven't been to a ton of concerts. And I feel like part of that is that I grew up in South Dakota, obviously, and they don't get a ton of big name artists. And if they do get someone big, it's most likely going to be country, which is not my jam. It's like I didn't go to my first concert till I was 18. And that was Imagine Dragons. Yeah. Which they had a couple cool songs, but I'm not a huge Imagine Dragons guy. So that's not up there for me. And then last year I got to go to Coachella. That was really cool, but that's so many concerts. I feel like there's an asterisk next to that. So second concert I ever went to was Pitbull. I was in college, two friends were going. They're like, you should come. They also needed a car, so I fit that bill. And I'm like, okay, this could be cool. I know some Pitbull songs. Pitbull's one of those artists where you think you know a couple songs, but then you go through the entire show, and I'm like, holy cow, I knew every single song. And he was a really good live performer, too. It was awesome. I was blown away by that one. But my number one has to be when I saw, also in college, I got to see Travis Scott on tour. He's my guy, my number one artist of all time. So I have to pick that one just because he's my favorite. It lived up to the hype. It was so much fun. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I know you would love that. And have you seen him once or twice?
Once on tour, and then the second time was at Coachella. So
that's right.
it was part
Yes.
of that. Yeah.
Was there one of those two that was better than the other that you liked?
Probably the concert, just because it's strictly him. Like Coachella, your sets are a little shorter, because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think just the full length concert. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, for me, I am not a huge concert person. So I will say one of the most, I've been to a number of them in Sioux Falls and that sort of thing and whatnot that, are fun and fine. And as you said, it's a little bit country heavy
Yeah.
there. But so my honorable mention is actually in Palm Desert. We went to a Justin Timberlake concert, and what was really kind of funny was Jana and I weren't sure if there was an opener or not. We assumed there was, but like we looked everywhere in all of the online and everything, and it never ever technically listed an opener.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, but it said that it started at, I forget, 8 or 9 or whatever. And we're like, there has to be, but it doesn't say, so let's make sure we get there at the starting time. Well, sure enough, we get there, and there is an opener, but the opener was a DJ, and the stage was to our right. It was in a AAA hockey arena in the Coachella Valley there, and so it was a bowl with a squared off end, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so the stage was down on the end for Timberlake, but in the middle, the DJ set up, and it was super cool. He played just like 30 seconds of awesome 80s and 90s songs. And then Justin Timberlake came on, and all of Justin Timberlake's songs kind of sound the same to me. So we watched all of the DJ, and then we watched like 3 of his songs, and then we were ready to go. So we left. But we had a ton of fun, and it was super entertaining. But I have a tie for top 2 legally, which I'm going to have a 1A and 1B. Both were in Las Vegas. My favorite band is Def Leppard. Second favorite is Motley Crue. Yep, 80s rock bands. Shocker. Yeah. Saw them both in back-to-back years when we were in Las Vegas for the opening round of the NCAA basketball tournament with college buddies.
Yeah.
And they played at the old Hard Rock Hotel, which doesn't exist anymore. And it was in a small little 5,000 person, maybe even less, 3,000 person amphitheater that they had in the old hotel. And got Def Leppard one year and Motley Crue the next. I love Def Leppard. I've seen them live a couple times, but in that place, it was so cool. So
that's awesome.
Those are my top 2.
Fun. Love it. Great episode here. Next week, we'll have more basketball, more golf. Football's officially over, so we'll be able to go a little more in depth on those 2. Winter Olympics will be pretty close to wrapping up by then. So yeah, it should be another good episode. Pat, great to be with you as always.
Yeah, it'll be a good episode, and we'll kind of have to, we'll be hitting the hot stove world of football too, which will be kind of interesting. But like you said, basketball, both NBA and NCAA ramping up a little bit. Might touch on a little hockey also. It's exciting.
For
good
sure.
stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Love you, bud. Talk to you later.
Love you.